We come to the first attempt, strike one, for Saudi Arabia to try to put Qatar back in its box. Saudi withdraws its ambassador from Doha in 2002. The Saudi ambassador does not return until 2008, 6 years without a Saudi ambassador in Doha. He comes back on an agreement, a modus vivendi. The agreement is basically that Al Jazeera will behave itself, that the Al Jazeera editorial line towards Saudi politics will change. And it did. How did Qatar choose to do what it did during the Arab Spring? Why and how? This is what I'm looking at. So Qatar supports Islamists. And there's reason for that argument. Of course there is. I'll talk about two things. I'll talk about Libya briefly, and then I'll talk about Jabhat al-Nusra in Syria briefly, to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Why did Qatar support Islamists linked to a man called Ali al-Salabi in Libya, and his brother Ismail al-Salabi, and linked to him Abdul Karim Belhaj? Why did Qatar do that? The central reason they supported Ali al-Salabi was because he was available. He was an exiled Libyan imam based in Qatar, who had a significant following back in Libya. You see him on Al Jazeera talking eloquently about the revolutions, and the next day, he is your man. Jabhat al-Nusra in Syria. Jabhat al-Nusra was an Al-Qaeda, an openly, obviously Al-Qaeda associated group for many years. Qatar seemed to have, interesting, pragmatic, some relationship with Jabhat al-Nusra. We know this because the leader of Jabhat al-Nusra was on Al Jazeera several times, because Qatar was able to procure 64 Fijian peacekeepers, 12 Malula Greek nuns, a couple of American journalists, Lebanese soldiers. They were able to negotiate from their release from Jabhat al-Nusra territory. This is the relationship, I think, that the Qataris had.